Everyone, this is 1,174 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, and our numbers keep on going up. And let me turn this down. It's People want to know the truth now. They want to know the truth, and I think they're getting bolder because we're getting more and more information. And that information has to do with certain addresses in El Paso um, that connect families together, like the Katzens, like the Roaches, like the Ortegas. Um, they connect families together, and that would be very important in this because let me get on Facebook and make sure that I'm live before I start. It gives me shivers. I'm getting shivers right now because of the information that we're getting. Um, there I am. Okay. So, thank you so much for coming on. Yep, thank you. Thank you for the heart. Thank you for the love. Okay, thank you, Anicia. Thank you. Prayers for justice. Thank you. Good evening to you, and thank you for your love because that is what is getting us this far and everything. That's what's getting us this far. People paying attention and people paying attention for years now because they know that things were stinky, that it wasn't right, that it was criminal, that there has been a cover up. And I have some paperwork in my hand here addressing the institutional support that's coming, really out of DC. The it seems that what was going on in the cover up was pretty local to the El Paso area, but affected, of course, um, the national. And I think I, I'm not quite sure, but where we're getting the institutional support is from Washington, D.C. So that's really good news in all of this because they are forcing then, or I should say driving. I want to use Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe's words that they have to be driven, like they're cattle, they have to be driven. They just can't understand their duty as generals and do their duty, right? They have to be driven to do it. And, that was so shocking when we heard that come from his mouth um, that Vanessa Guillen drove them. Well, Vanessa Guillen, um, I don't think that that case was completely accounted for. I should say that. So we're working very hard because Richard is the very first CONUS DES 1 missing soldier under the new Vanessa Guillen absent soldier flow chart, and we've kind of shortened it to say Richard is the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier so that people would understand um, that the institutions promised the American people that they would do something different after they found Vanessa Guillen's bludgeoned, chopped up, burnt up, buried, left to never be. You have to understand this. The CID absolutely did not want to find her remains. Okay? They did not. It was the exact same leadership as the leadership over Fort Bliss. They did not want to find her remains. They called off the search when Texas EquiSearch got close, When they got close and they found the partially melted pelican case, they called off the search. They made Texas EquiSearch go home. We were told by Texas EquiSearch, we have spoken to them, and they were crying. They were praying. The matter of fact, the one searcher that we spoke with said that he stood on the bridge looking over the area because they knew they were so close. But the CID, the same CID leadership over Fort Hood and Fort Bliss, now they have shamed themselves so much at Fort Hood that they had to change the name to Fort Cavazos, and then continue to shame themselves because they appointed Colonel, Lieutenant General Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe to be the commanding general of Fort Cavazos, which is a real shame. Um, and no wonder things haven't improved. They don't want things to improve. They did not want to find Vanessa, and they did not want to find Richard. When they found Vanessa, it shook things up so bad. They had to, I believe, cover up because I don't believe we got to the bottom of what really happened with Vanessa and all of. Um, I think some people got away. Um, and those aren't my words. I think that that is Vanessa's mother's words. Um, but, Richard is the very first absent soldier under the work that that family did, that the community did to hold that command accountable as well as they could against the big green machine, big green machine that during COVID, I mean, I cannot believe they got as much accomplished as they did. It is just, uh, glorify God the whole time because it was so difficult. It was so difficult. And even finding her remains was a miracle. And I'm very grateful for that because that story, when you think about it at this time in regards to our son's case, you definitely understand that these people, something was wrong with them. Something, these, these leaders, they will sell their soul for their paycheck. They will. And, you know, money has gotten the best of us. It's gotten the best of us. So, and I don't know if that's the best because I'll tell you, uh, the the whole job thing is has been revealed in all of this and exposed in all of this, especially at the VA. A VA that would hire Amber Chase to sit next to the likes of James Hart to head up, and there's others too, y'all, to head up a very sensitive office, a very important office, the IDES dash Pueblo, which is the health board for veterans, disabled veterans, in order to be evaluated to get their benefits. And that needs to have so much oversight because the slippery slope on that, the moral hazard on that, the if you have the likes of these characters, they it's too much for them. They have no self-control, they have no self-discipline, and they take advantage of our veterans for their own pleasure, for their own gain, and they easily uh, do not care. I mean, if you if you want an example of if they care about our veterans, just look at our son's case. They don't care, and they will manipulate, and they will tamper with evidence, and they will harass you. They will harass you. They will try to intimidate you. They will threaten you. And they will be the most vile and vulgar monsters to a family of a missing soldier, right? And they're the ones that have access to my husband's file. That's why they, in their comments, they knew things that only a person that would go through my husband's file with a fine tooth comb. How much taxpayers' money did that cost for them to get paid? Because absolutely, they don't do anything for nothing, not even to save their own skin. They're totally ruled by give me the money, right? And how much of taxpayers' money had to pay them to spend the time to go through my husband's file and my son's file and probably even my health records, um, you know, to try to find something. I said to my daughters and my son, my our eldest son, but my daughter on the phone. We were talking about it even this morning, and I said, uh, hey, do a phone kiss to your dad, your honorable dad that served honorable with distinction, and I meant every word of that, because they went through his file, and you know what? All they found was honor and integrity and distinction and loyalty to his duty to defend this country, to help every warfighter that he could while he served in the military. That's all they saw is just honor and integrity. And I just I just have to brag about that because thank God, thank God, because these vile and vulgar people have no mercy. They have no mercy. They are out to get you. And, if you make one little stumble in this very, very stony world that we have, where people everywhere are setting stumbling blocks in front of you. If you just stumble a little bit, they will eat you. They want to eat you. They don't want to pick you up. They don't have the Good Samaritan attitude. They really don't. Lalani Hart has not one little ounce of Good Samaritan. And I want to speak to the veterans because the veterans, there's a lot of veterans right now that are reaching out. Um, I think they've had enough. They've had their belly full. But to the veterans that Lalani Hart surrounds herself with, and she does, surrounds herself with veterans. I want to tell you that what we're being told is that she runs her mouth. She runs her mouth. She's not trustworthy. She she's a backstabber. She's vile and vulgar. She will even lie about you. She will lie about you, and she won't hesitate to try to bring you down if it serves her needs. Um, she is just that manipulative. And I'll tell you another thing that they told us is that she has a shrine, and this is in Hawaii. She has a shrine to the Dallas Cowboys. She loves the Dallas Cowboys, okay? She has a shrine to them. And of course, her son's name is Dallas, and her other son's name is Texas. So she really, really loves football, okay? She loves football. She's not the first one, but she has a shrine, uh, had a shrine. I don't know if she still has it in her house, to the Dallas Cowboys. And, and why do I say that? Well, because Dallas was a football player. Dallas was a football player. And put two and two together, with the Mercedes, with the Pearl Mercedes, put it together about this cover up, even if it means covering up, that your son has done something so atrocious, so awful, that you have to try to create some kind of alibi. But I'm telling you, Dallas Hart's alibi has shattered. It has crumbled. There's no alibi there. And, he's had plenty. And I don't feel, that I have to hesitate when I say that, because he has had plenty of time to put forth, to come online, to call. I've talked to him twice, and to give, and I've told him, on the phone. I've talked to him through email, I've talked to him twice on the phone, and he had plenty of opportunity, because I told him, do you realize, Dallas, that you are a prime suspect in the murder of my son, Richard Halliday? Do you realize that? And he said, yes. I said, do you know that that's what, people are saying? You murdered Richard. I'm being told, it's not it was not my evaluation. Okay. We had people that were telling us that Dallas hurt Richard. Okay. Dallas hurt Richard. Um, and so he has been a prime suspect for a long time. And he absolutely knew this, because I told him on the phone myself. And he had plenty of time to uh, show us his orders. I mean, that would be so easy. But see, that's not what happened. And he said he didn't know Richard. Clearly, he knew Richard. Clearly, he knew Richard. The car, yeah, it just, everything has just crumbled for him. And we have now, uh, I should even read it, enough evidence for a jury to find him guilty. Okay, we have enough evidence. We received that information, that we have enough evidence now. And so here we are looking into, we're trying to get all of our ducks in a row, because we're moving 100 miles an hour. Once you get into court, it's 1,000 miles an hour. Things, you need to be organized, you need to have everything established, because once you get into court, things go very, very fast. And since we're getting this uh, institutional DC support, um, and yes, it's from help that we're getting. Yes, um, we need the help, right? We need the help. Uh, I am not a lawyer. I know, well, I've learned a lot about law through this case, but that was not my field. And so, absolutely, we needed help. People knew we needed help. We pay taxes to get help. We pay taxes to um, the system to form these district attorneys, these attorney generals, these AUSAs, the governors, the whole Department of Justice. We do that. I looked this up, and do you know that we're not the only ones in the boat, that if something like this happens, is they're in a pickle? We were in a pickle. How do you get help? Um, how do you get help when there is a huge cover up going on, right? And you don't have a law degree, and you hire lawyers and or a private investigator or whatever, and the system, chokes them out or intimidates them or whatever. What happens when you need help, and what happens when you're brought to court and you don't have the funds, right, to pay these enormous costs of going against a big green machine, right? Going against a well established criminal cabal that has taken up residence in Fort Bliss. And not only Fort Bliss, but in El Paso. How do pay to go up against that kind of power? And, so I don't know, but I looked it up, and I was told, and I looked it up. I thought, no way, it can't be. But the statistics are there that these indigenous cases are called indigenous cases. That means that the state has to pay for your legal help, right? Because you can't afford it. You can't, whatever, for whatever purpose, right? And so they will provide you legal help, right? Which is a terrible thing, because that means whoever is running the state has control over these attorneys, right? That they have even more power over the they can weaponize the legal system against you, uh, because they're the ones that you're fighting, and they're the ones that are providing you with legal assistance. And so, it's kind of like this whole education system. uh, Being in the education community, I realized that they were working against our sons and daughters. Uh, when they brought in the 80s in Killeen, I was teaching in Killeen. They brought in this no child left behind and all of these testings, and clearly it was a beginning of working against every student. And it led me, as I became a mother. I met Rob there. We were married there on Fort Hood. So some good things happen on Fort Hood, right? Um, I was even in Killeen area when the Luby's mass shooting happened. Uh, I remember that. But of course, I was there as a mother, and as my husband was transferred to Germany, and then the Gulf War started, right? But as the kids got older, we decided that we would homeschool. And it was a scary, very scary thing, because nobody in our family had ever homeschooled. But I realized with the testing what was being tested, how they were testing, how often they were testing, how that would control the curriculum, that they were up to no good. And it's the same thing with these indigenous cases, which now the statistics are 93% of all cases going through our Department of Justice is indigenous cases. That means they have control over their criminal cabal legally. There's this small portion, the stars in their courses, this small portion, the 7% of people that actually have the funding, that actually have the power to bring in their own lawyers and to represent them fairly, squarely, um, to well, is it fair? Is it square? I don't know, because they have so much control. And that has been something that is, I don't know if I should say shocking. It is shocking, even though I know what has happened to our education system, um, because for the amount of money that we pay to educate our children, they should be amazing in their skills and gifts and know how, right? In their discipline, um, and contributing to our country. But it's not the case, because that was never the intention when you see the tests. And so, for the amount of money that pours into our Department of Justice, which we have an open records request, we want to know how much taxpayers' money has been spent on Richard's case, right? Because we are getting numbers that are in the millions, in the millions. And we want to know the breakdown of what it was all spent on, right? Because this is a botched case. And that means that it was a cover up, because it's not that hard to find a missing soldier and get to the bottom of this, okay? If Team Find Richard Halliday can do it with their limited resources, even though we're growing every day, we're growing and we're getting institutional support now. But if we can do it, even though it takes us longer, they could have done it in a heartbeat, because we had a lot of obstacles to overcome at the beginning. They were called lies. They were called misinformations. They were called manipulations. They were called intimidations. They were called misdirections. We had all of these hurdles that we had to smear campaigns, right? Vile and vulgar harassment. We had all of these hurdles that we've had to jump over in order to get to the truth. And the institution absolutely knew that Richard was a Park University student, that Richard was a CID intern, that Richard uh, was a whistleblower, even to the FBI. That is another news that I've said briefly, but he made FBI complaints. So this is, they knew all of this because they already had the IG all over the barracks because of Richard. They also knew the connections with Belen, with Danae Katzen, with Tanya Katzen, with Eddie Heriberto Rocha, with Lydia Rocha, with the different addresses that connect all of them, with other relations that connect all of them, and how that connects to the Department of Justice there in El Paso. And so, this is it's huge, but they did not notify DC. They did not give DC a cut. And that's good news for us, because now DC is starting to come in here and say, what the heck have you guys been doing down there at Fort Bliss and in El Paso, Texas? And what is going on with the reports, the criminality, even though we know that DC is pretty dirty. It's very dirty, very, very dirty. Um, but, people, I don't, they act funny when they're left in the dust, right? And so I just want to let the veterans know in El Paso that veterans have, multiple people have said, watch out, because Lalani is loose lips and she does not have your six. And look at what's going on with Dallas, because Dallas was looking for porn, not just any porn, but illegal child porn that was torturing children, right? Um, Illegal child sexual porn that was torturing children. And Richard turned in these tapes, right? We know that Richard turned in, and here, uh, Dallas, because so even her son, she cannot um, adequately uh, cover for, because she's telling everyone, Dallas is at my house. Dallas is at my house looking for the child pornography, the illegal child pornography. Oh yeah, when we were filming the torture of children, the sexual abuse of children. I hope it wasn't her friend's child. I really do. Um, and this is, you know, something. There needs to be arrests, right? Just on that. But that's not even all. It was Leilani Hart that didn't stop there. She had to make a criminal complaint, have it notarized, have it accepted by the CID and the FBI. Also, um, talking about the child pornography, right? Talking about her friend's child that, she does, even though she had complained all this time about her husband being a pedophile, about the incest, about all the sexual abuse, about the guns. Oh, that's another issue. About the illegal guns. She still said to her friend, "Oh, just leave your sons here with my family." The incestuous, pedophile um, family that has tried to kill me, right? Try to kill me. Leave your children here with them. They'll be safe. Oops, they weren't safe. They weren't safe. And so this is in a CID, this is in an FBI file. And, this is Leilani Hart. And this is what she does to her family. Just think what she does to veterans, because we saw what she did to David Poche, bringing him in to the media. Um, you know that that is going to blow up in his face, because that's obstruction of justice, right? That's obstruction of justice, interfering in the investigation of a missing soldier that is presumed murdered by the very veteran that you know son, the veteran son that now, of course, Dallas Hart is a veteran. He's out. He's out of the military, which is also strange. But David Poche, he, it's like, doesn't he have enough problems? And now he gets dragged into aiding and abetting the obstruction of justice in a missing soldiers case. Uh, you know, that's not a friend. Leilani Hart is not a, with friends like that, who needs enemies, right? Who needs enemies when you have friends like that? And, and she's definitely not, um, no, that she's not on her way to recovery, you know? She's not on her way to recovery. Um, no, but confession is a cure of souls, right? Confession is a cure of souls. So, this is why we are definitely deciding to make this announcement. Rob and I were like, these veterans, it's not enough that they get taken advantage of at the VA by her husband, and even coached into a moral hazard, you know? Let me coach you just the right way so you can screw the American people and go against the other disabled veterans, and your duty that you took an oath to defend the Constitution. Let's do that because, um, there might be a lot of people in society that might not care about the breaking of oaths, but God does. God does. And that's a scary thing. God is no buttercup. And that's Odo Scott there. That's not me. That's Odo Scott. He's the one that coined that. God is no buttercup. And I think it's really well said. So these breaking of oaths, um, you know, being a stumbling block, James Hart being a stumbling block within the VA to so many of these veterans, that's also a terrible, terrible thing because he's dishonoring every veteran that comes in there that he manipulates. He's dishonoring our country. And so they have no, this is a proclivity, I hope I say that word right, to do violence, to do harm, to put stumbling blocks in front of people, to dishonor them, you know. And when you are dishonored, when you are living that kind of life, um, it rubs on you, you know. It starts to hurt. It becomes, you know, um, it becomes very painful. And so these poor disabled veterans, like they don't have enough to worry about. Now they have to worry about this guilt, this, uh, you know, facing the fact, looking at themselves in the mirror that they're cheating the American people. Um, yeah, that's if that's not bad enough, then you have Lalani Hart finishing them off, right? Finishing them off. It is so damaging what the Hart family has done on Fort Bliss that it is not a wonder that Dallas Hart um, is the prime suspect in the murder of our son. You know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and he, from what we have been told from the veterans, from the inner circle, is that he wasn't too kind to his brother. You know, they might have this sexual thing going on, but he's not too kind to him. Um, and it's really, um, even though we want accountability, it's still so sad. You can't be happy about the harm that they have caused, about the violence that they have caused, and there needs to be arrests. And so we do now have um, everything that we need to bring a guilty verdict. So then it's shifting now to Boleyn, um, to Isabel. No, Isabel is Boleyn's middle name. Lydia, Lydia, that's also her middle name, Isabel. But Lydia Rocha, because I talked to Lydia on the phone, and she withheld information from me, and she has a lot of information. Okay, and so we're getting to the bottom of all of that, and that's also obstruction of justice. That also is tampering, with this investigation. And so, and they know each other. They know each other. Tanya Katzen, um, Danae Katzen, and more, and more. They know each other. And, the people, those that wanted to cover this up, the millions of dollars that wanted to cover it up, had to cover all of that stuff up, the connections. And but they're sloppy, and they don't do a good job. And you know, Team 5 Richard Halliday found them, right? Because they can't cover up everything. And it's it's so clear that, we have some work to do. Uh, that the CID should be doing, right? There needs to be arrests. There needs to be arrest. And the JAG, who, don't forget Thomas Kane, who knows all these people, okay? Thomas Kane knows all these people. Thomas Kane, the chief of security for Fort Bliss, wrote, admitted that the JAG is working outside of the law, is not doing the right thing, you know. So I think that the Department of Justice in DC has had their belly full. Um, I'm hoping, let's pray, let everyone pray, because we're getting so much information. I think that they're being driven to care. So thank you very much, Team Find Richard Halliday, for sending all of this stuff. But absolutely, Danae is a pivotal person in this whole investigation. So is Boleyn, and so are their families. And with the Hart family, it's all, and there's, of course, Delta Battery 143, those involved, and also some veterans like Jay Paulin. And, you know, um, once uh, once it starts to crack, then all of the other evidence will come pouring out with the Shadow, what is that? Mountain Shadow Park, with Red Rio Range, with Juarez, with the plane, with the costs of developing a group while the investigation is ongoing to harass and to try to put out false narratives out there, but they cannot do it because Richard has no record. They have no record. Okay? All they can say is that they dislike us. All they can say is, oh, call us names. That's all they can do now because they have nothing. They have nothing on Richard. He is, well, they can say this. He's a distinguished honor graduate, that he's a whistleblower, that he stood his ground, and he's an honorable young man. That's what they can say. And he was law abiding, cared about the law, cared about following the law, didn't want a criminal cabal ruling Fort Bliss, taking advantage of taxpayers and taxpayers' money, and doing damage. Because let's talk about Israel right now. Everyone's talking about how uh, the administration funded Hamas, right? $6 million, I believe that's, they were, funneling money, and they're still not turning off the spigot. And so they're funneling wars, probably with weapons and everything. Well, look at what's going on at Fort Bliss, what Richard was trying to report with the weapon smuggling. Who were they who were they funneling these weapons to? Who were they selling these weapons to? Is that why Juarez has so many murders? Because Fort Bliss is selling weapons over the border? Are they providing um, ammunition to the cartels so the cartels could shoot up people? That the gangs can shoot up, because some people say, oh, but there's some good cartels. Well, whoever is shooting up whoever, where did that ammunition come from? Where did those weapons come from? And was that coming from Fort Bliss? Because absolutely there was weapon smuggling. Okay. And so, you know, uh, they think, okay, I'm just going to line my pocketbook so I can go buy myself a pearly Mercedes, right? Or pay for a house in the Philippines or something like that. right? But no, that's not what they're doing. They're killing people. They're killing people and they're bringing chaos and they're bringing a lot of harm. And so that's why there needs to be accountability. These are very serious crimes that, if they are going to if they're going to mess with our veterans, and then they're going to smuggle weapons and ammunition, and then they're going to make child pornography, illegal child pornography, and try to sell that to our soldiers. And then they're going to turn the barracks into a marketplace for illegal drugs so that they can do their narcotics trafficking. And then they're going to this intake center, you know, thing. This one intake center started in 21. Another one started. I think there has been like a dozen intake centers on Fort Bliss. Okay, uh, were they? Do you remember they were even complaining about it in 2019? Right, they were complaining about the children in the cages and everything, and they were coming down there during this whole election thing. And um, so don't tell me that Fort Bliss, the intake center, it was a very new thing with the extra migrants coming in 2021. No, no, it just, they've had so many, and it's developed. And if they're doing human trafficking out of it, if they're taking 14-year-old girls out of it to live in the barracks and be prostituted out, and and then General Eisenhower doesn't do anything about it, and of course Major General or Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe sure didn't do anything about it. But Eisenhower he's in a corner because he's the one that signed his name to obstruct justice in Richard's case. Actually signed his name. And I'll tell you this, Sean Bernabe, he doesn't sign his name. He doesn't sign his name to anything. He is unofficial all the way, and he got a third star for it. But Eisenhower, oops, he signed his name in the obstruction of justice of Richard's case. He is part of this, and um, you know, he's been given every chance to undo the mess that he has done in our son's case, to continue the mess, the botched investigation, and not support Team Find Richard Halliday, the true investigators, the true the true Department of Justice, the true media in all of this. And so, yeah, it is uh, because I give everyone a chance. I'm thinking about, am I the true media here? Um, I'm trying to be as authentic, as truthful as I possibly, absolutely, that I know that I can be. And I have a number up, 941-677-0060. If I make a mistake, you can absolutely call me and tell me, leave a message. Also, we're so transparent. We put it all out there. We've put our monies out there. We've put our evidence out there. We've given Dallas Hart a chance uh, to build an alibi, to give us an alibi, to and it's just not there. It's just not there. And we have a key witness that witnessed Leilani Hart and Tavita Nusa tampering with Richard's file, tampering with lots of files. Of course, she doesn't care about veterans, right? So, of course, she's going to tamper with files. And that surveillance footage is missing, surveillance footage is tampered with because she had a very close relationship with Thomas Kane. okay, who in turn had a close relationship with a CPS person, uh, a park student, who in turn, or Tom also had, he's a busy guy, had a very close relationship with Ann Ogle, who's administrator for CYS. And, the veterans are absolutely, I mean, the information coming in is that it was a real mess. A real mess. The children were a real mess. That the three reports that Richard gave to the CID, the CPS, were about uh, children being harmed. And so, and the last one was about how, why aren't you doing anything? Why aren't you doing anything? Right? So, these connections, it's a real web, but once you listen a few times, you can piece it together because it's these families. It's the Hart family, it's the Rocha family, the Ortega, the Katzen. She's a Gonzalez, but she is also more. She's also more. She's a very Danea's very interesting history. Um, and so when all this and their attachments then to the prosecutor, then to the media, and then to certain properties, um, it's undeniable. And when the open records, because we are absolutely entitled, they work for us. They work for us. They have to tell us how much money they spent. They have to tell us. That's taxpayers' money. It's not their money. And when that information that is being worked on right now comes out, uh, all the little details. I mean, I want to know $175,000 to Sarasota Sheriff's Department for that little show at our house with the illegal search with the assault unit in their full battle gear with the fugitive apprehension unit. 175,000, boy, that's sweet. That's a sweet deal. And millions, millions, y'all. Lots more to the El Paso Sheriff's office. Lots more. And so it's going to be interesting when all of this comes and these communications. And they won't be able to deny us justice for our son. They just won't. And that's the beauty of the American system. You have to work it, and we have a lot of corruption, but you know, we still have rights, and that's why we need to protect them. And this whole thing with the warmongers, um, it's a trap. Okay, every war is a trap. The whole COVID thing was a trap. Think about all of the small businesses they destroyed. They were ruthless. They were absolutely ruthless to us with the COVID. And there's more. And it's not tinfoil hat anymore. There is proof, right? There's proof that they're ruthless. And in my son's case, in this case of Team Farm Richard Halliday, don't forget that they were ruthless from the beginning. They put in FBI informants. They put in, those from the IG or CID or they're well connected, whatever. Um, Absolutely hours long they spent going behind our back, and that's why I put up a lot of the Electra memories, because they were sabotaging her help for us. Um, it didn't matter if that was something I believed in or not. Um, it didn't matter if she was trying to do it for money. The fact is that she was bold enough to call. She felt like she had information. Um, did it doesn't matter if you know I've had lots of people call and I didn't feel that what they had to offer was credible. But I still listened to everybody. I didn't feel like what Sammy said was credible over there in Juarez, but I always respected him and I always listened to him. And so the same thing with Electra, but there were people working behind the scenes, contacting anyone that was trying to help us, including her, and they were being bullied and they were being, intimidated or even sabotaged to make them not credible. And I got some calls from people saying, Corinne is calling me saying that you're hiding your son. I'm like, what? What? So who in their right mind would do something like that? Spend this much time on this? They must have something to lose. They must have something very big to lose, or two things to lose. I think two things to lose. And so this is, something that we have to remember. Another hurdle that we had to jump over is the infiltration of Find Richard Halliday at the beginning. And I think we're immune to it now. I think we've gotten, it's still there. It's still there, but we understand. We, at the beginning, we didn't understand who to trust and who not to trust. And now we do. And so that makes it, when you can see who you're fighting, then, who you're trying to combat to get to the truth, uh, that makes it very easy. When people are incognito, when they are stealth, when they're undercover, when they're double agents, it's much, much more difficult. So that was a huge thing that we've overcome. So many hurdles. And now we're at this point where it's these, you know, simple. It's getting very simple. It's these families, and they were up to no good with their criminality. And Richard called them out, and they organized themselves enough because they've been practicing organizing themselves because this is nothing new for them. That's why they can hide behind all of these different identities. They steal identities. That's why Richard's social security number, it has been tampered with or compromised, and it makes they have a sweet deal most of the time because people don't have the time, the effort, the monies to look into what they're doing. And just by the grace of God, uh, and so many friends, so many veteran friends. Don't forget, Rob was in the Army for 30 years. He has veteran friends. So, and Richard's godmother, a lot of friends there, a lot of knowledge, a lot of knowledge. And of course, all the rest of Team Farm Richard Halliday. Amazing that, and everybody's been intimidated. Everybody's had messages sent to them and even used some of the things that are very dear to them to be threatened. So, yeah, we had God gave us the means to do this, and so thank you for sticking with us. And you're going to hear uh, dots being connected in the next few days. Huge dots being connected. Um, Huge. And I think it will help El Paso. And I know that it will help Fort Bliss. I know. And the accountability, the knocks on the door, because um, It has to happen. These are, this is a murder of our son, a whistleblower. This is a retaliation. It's not just murder. It was premeditated. It was premeditated months before. And it was premeditated in a way to do him the most torture, the most harm, um, trying to discredit him first, and then take everything away from him, and then at the end, take away his life, and then to take away his dignity by dismembering him and spreading him in different locations, and then not contacting family, not being forthright with family, obstructing justice, tampering with witnesses, intimidating witnesses, using the institutions on Fort Bliss that they had infiltrated, like the JAG, like the DES, like the Chief of Security of Fort Bliss, like the CYS administrator, like Park University, like the CID. Did I say the CID? Like the CID, like the CID internship, like the FBI, like the DA, like the AG, like the MPs, like the El Paso Police Department, like the El Paso sheriffs, like the Sarasota sheriffs. Uh, you know, it's marshals, the U.S. marshals there, and more, and more, and 15 plus agencies, and a botched task force, and a staged task force that the Army knew. Washington, D.C. knew that. Um, and so, they already had a heads up. It's going to be interesting how this comes out now that we have so much information. Um, Thank you for, oh, one other thing that I need to push is this soldier. And I didn't do it last night, and I need to do it. So please help me do it. Um, by sharing. Share the petition. We have quite a few signatures. I think it's over 230 signatures now, and we need to get more. We need to keep getting more to let people know that our service members that um, risk their lives, absolutely risk their lives to whistleblow, to blow the whistle, to have oversight. We need oversight, right? That's why we need transparency, is for the oversight. That's why we are absolutely entitled to know the monies spent on Richard's case and the communications, because we need to have oversight. If we have 93% indigenous um, cases where they can do the gag order, they can close everything up, that they can, we're not free anymore, y'all. We don't have uh, innocent until proven guilty. We don't have a trial by jury. And, there's no justice. And a land without justice is just a band of robbers, is just a criminal syndicate. Isn't that what St. Augustine said? And he was so right on target. He's just amazing. St. Augustine, the Athanasius Creed. Um, yeah, that was his hand there, the Athanasius Creed. So, this is so important to free up, again, the rights of the people, and bring down the costs. Everybody should be able to hire who they want to represent them in law, and nobody should be made fun of that, because we have buildings upon buildings upon buildings of law and regulations, and anyone needs help to get through that. Okay? Even the best lawyers, when they're brought to trial, have to have other lawyers to help them because we've rejected God's medium-sized book, the 10 Commandments, uh, this medium-sized book that anyone could read and understand, and they could even defend themselves in a court of law according to God's word, because it's just that easy. Thou shalt not kill. Thou, right? Thou shalt not covet. Um, it's just that easy, and it has what 460 case laws or something like that. So it's much easier to learn and go through when you get in a little bit of a pickle and you need to defend yourself, or defend your loved one. And but now in our justice, we just have buildings upon buildings, huge buildings that are full with laws and regulations. And we're at the point where um, laws get introduced and people say, you have to sign it in order to even know what's in it. They don't even know what's in their own laws that they pass. So, and uh, I don't even think that they're supposed to make law. I thought that they were just supposed to be oversights of God's law. That's why the Ten Commandments were there in Congress, that they were just supposed to make sure that God's law was being followed and just show up every so often. But DC has developed into something not really what it was meant to do. And so it is saying a lot for Team Fine Richard Halliday to get institutional support from Washington, D.C. It's saying a lot, uh, that you have stuck with us, that you have written those letters, that you have made those phone calls, that you have signed those petitions to support these soldiers that are, wanting things to be transparent, crimes to be transparent so that they can be brought to justice. So please sign the petition for this soldier on Fort Bliss that is standing strong against Major General Eisenhower, and others for the crime that's being committed there on Fort Bliss, because a lot is wrong on Fort Bliss, y'all. A lot is wrong. And we can't have them funneling weapons, smuggling weapons, like what happened with this Hamas and Israel thing, right? And so many people get hurt. We need to stop it. And Richard tried. He tried. And Dallas Hart had his hand in it. James Hart had his hand in it. Jay Paulin had his hand in it. Tavita Nusa had his hand in it. Uh, Lalani Hart had her hand in it. And Thomas Kane had his hand in it. Park University had their hand in it. The command structure had their hand in it. It was a code red, y'all. It was a code red. Okay? This was an institutional hit job on Richard. Um, absolutely. And so, yeah. Um, so it's saying something that DC is uh, is wanting to get to the bottom of this, and that is that's a testament to all of the hard work. So thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, Danielle. Thank you, Anicia. Yeah, and there's probably more evidence. We have so much that we have to go through and go through and go through, things that we saw at the very beginning, and now it's like the Mercedes pictures, and you know your mind just thinks different at the beginning, because of all the infiltration. But now we've hopped over all these obstacles, and now we can go back and look again, And then it's like, oh, okay, that means that and that means that. So, and to do with Electra, oh, the weapons, there's a gunsmith involved in this. There's a gunsmith involved for the illegal weapons. Yeah, I wanted to mention that today. We have his name. And yeah, um, that's interesting. And I'll release more in the next few days about the gunsmith. Um, so I just jumped. My mind just jumped from what I was trying to say. But yeah, veterans need to um, not trust these people that put stumbling blocks in front of you and bring you into their, they groom you into their little cult. So, yeah, watch out, watch out. And we're being told that by veterans. Watch out. Okay. So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much. And yeah, had an itchy eye there. Thank you so much. And I will be back tomorrow with more news. God bless.